Hello and welcome back to the Dugout podcast. This is episode number 44. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. Rangers season is over after they lose 2-0 to Athletic Club de Bilbao in the Europa League quarter-finals. Scottish Cup semi-final action. Aberdeen scrape past nine-man Hearts and Celtic thump the Perth Saints. And in the championship, Hamilton Accies already down, waiting on the results of an appeal that could perhaps reduce the point deduction and put them back in the fight for survival. And it's heating up at the top as Falkirk lost at the weekend, and Livy are now within a 3 point distance of them. We all thought the championship was done and dusted, but it's getting exciting. I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Laurie Finlayson and Ethan Barlow. Yeah, boys, quite a lot to talk about. Obviously, the team of the year, the players' team of the year, team of the season is out as well. So we'll run through that. Mixing it up this week because of a bit of a lacking of Premiership action. But yeah, Laurie, how you doing, mate? You looking forward to discussing all things Scottish football?
Yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, of course, it's been a week off for Kelly. Well, at least in the men's side. I mean, the women's team managed to claw claw the kind of league back potentially in SWPL two. Hamilton are still top of it, but anyway, yeah, it's good to be talking Scottish football again. The Scottish Cup semis weren't too great. We'll get into those, but yeah, just looking forward to another good episode. And Alex, I'll let you bring in the buzz.
Yeah, Baldy, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. It's good to be talking about, I don't know, something. It's a wee bit different this week because we've not got the sort of usual six games we have. We've got a bit of knockout football, a bit of championship, which we brought into our episodes recently because it has got very spicy and maybe no more spicier than this weekend's action with the title race back, um, well and truly being a thing.
Yeah. It's yeah. I thought even if you go back a couple of weeks, you thought it was over. But now it's really heating up. But we'll just put that to the one side for a minute. We'll come back to it later. We'll start off with Thursday. Athletic Club de Bilbao 2, Rangers nil. Um, the better team won on the day. However, um, Rangers were robbed of a absolute stone wall penalty. I know Ethan's got a different opinion on this, but everyone else I've spoke to and discussed it with. I was on Michael McEwen's show during the week there. He thought it was a stonewall penalty, and I think Robbie was in the comments letting us know that it was a penalty as well. And yeah, obviously, yeah, like I said, they'll take nothing away from Bilbao. Over the course of the 90 minutes, they were the better side. But you never know if that had been given, it could have changed the course of the game. Laurie, I'll just come to you first. What was your thoughts on that decision?
Yeah, a very strange one. I mean, we've all seen, well, the image as well, and I know people have been slagging off Castro, the Rangers kit manufacturer, but we've all seen the image of the ripped shirt as well. I mean, and it's not just a wee rip. If your shirt can be totally wrecked like that, I mean, you've been kind of hauled to the ground kind of thing. So, I mean, I think most people think it's a penalty. Of course, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Of course, Ethan, we'll get to yours. And of course, you can get in touch with us with your opinion as well, be it on Twitter at the Dugout 2024, or of course in the comments on YouTube. But like it's very much quick quick clear penalty. And of course I understand why, well, Barry Ferguson and Cyril Dessers are more than a little bit aggrieved. But Alex, as you said, better team won from what I saw of the game. Although to be fair, I was watching, well, the better Europa League game on Thursday. I know we're a Scottish football show, but wow.
Yeah, that was some game. I was on Michael's show getting notifications. I was like, oh gosh, this is the best extra time of all time. And we've got our semi-finalists confirmed, and Man United versus Bilbao, and Bodo Glimt versus Tottenham. What a story that would be if Bodo Glimt managed to make it to. Will make it to the final and win. Before I come to Ethan about the penalty, I saw a really interesting fact actually. Bodo Glimt's wage bill was around €6 million. Dundee United went down with a wage bill of £6.9 million. So
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
it's
It's a
absolutely,
ridiculous achievement.
yeah,
When would
mental.
Alex, would you take Knudsen at Rangers as the next Rangers manager?
Uh, Maybe, I don't know. I don't really know who I'd want right now. I've seen a lot of stuff about Gerard recently. Obviously, you know, news that I've forgot to mention, the Rangers takeovers all but confirmed. So that's something that's pretty big news that I forgot to mention. But yeah, I don't know if I'd take him. Yeah, I've seen a lot of Gerard. I don't know if I'd want Gerard back. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the thinking would be he rebuilt rebuilt his last time. It took a while to get there, but maybe with better resources he can do it quicker. But he's not been great since leaving Rangers in either of his managerial roles, and then he was linked to the likes of Carlisle. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, is it how's it you say it, Nutson, or is it Canuston, or
I'm not sure. I'm not too sure.
I'm not.
yeah.
But
I'm not sure
he's done
either.
a
I
great
mean,
job.
Well, he's been linked with the two Glasgow sides for years since he actually beat Celtic under Postecoglou, I think. So um,
Yeah.
it was so maybe, but he seems like he's quite content where he is at the moment. So we'll see what the future holds. But yeah, back to the blatant corruption. No, I'm joking, but it was just a shot. In my opinion, it was a shocking decision. But Ethan, I'll let you say your piece on it.
Um. So I think Berry could have it easily could have been given as a penalty. I'm not sitting saying here it's never a penalty. I just think that once he's not given it, I don't think they're going to overturn it because I think the contact, yes, you can clearly see by evidence in Desso's shot and by evidence of watching the clip that the Bilbao defender, was it Vivian, I think it might have been,
Yeah,
um, grips Desso's shot and pulls it. I just think that he pulls it for so short a time that I know he's shot rips, and that maybe should be the evidence enough in itself. But I think it's one of those ones where if he gives it, then it's not going to get overturned, and it's going to be a penalty. And if he doesn't give it, it's not going to get overturned. I
yeah,
think it's one of those ones where if I was yourself, Alex, I'd be frustrated at the decision, quite rightfully. But also, if I was on Bilbao's side and that penalty get given against the team, I would be a little bit it's a little bit soft because he has his hand on him for all of what half a second.
yeah.
Um,
I've had that thought process as well. However, if anyone's played football, any tug of the shirt can kind of hinder you, and you don't know. And I was thinking as well, you don't know if that was the split second that Dessers needed to get in onto the end of the ball and potentially score. Because it's
yeah,
not if he's just holding them down when they're tussling for a corner. Dessers is chasing a loose ball that would put him one on one with the goalkeeper. So it's yeah, and it would maybe what went into the ref's decision making as well. Though if he had given it as a penalty, I think he would have had to send
send
off
him off. Yeah,
Vivian. So maybe that's gone into his decision making as well. Because by the letter of the law, it would have had to have been a red card. Although I think that would have been harsh, But
yeah,
yeah, but it was frustrating. But like as I've said, Rangers weren't good enough. In the second half, when they changed to the four, not by any tactical sort of choices. It was down to injuries. I thought that Rangers were a bit better. Got out a bit more. Getting up the park. Cherny had a chance. Raskin had a shot saved onto the post. But other than that, there wasn't really much threat. Bilbao controlled the game. They weren't stupendous. I'd say it was much like the first leg. A lot of Bilbao controlling the ball, but not really doing much with it. They obviously get the penalty. I don't know what John Souttar's doing. It's just a poor split second decision from him. It is a penalty. The Sunset scores. An interesting thing I didn't realise until after, he's actually got the words "You'll never walk alone" tattooed on his arm. So
In that,
a wee bit of extra salt rubbed in the wound. But yeah, he puts it away, and then in the second half, a nicely worked goal, a good cross from DeMarcos, and Nico Williams at the back post to make it 2-0. Igaman has a chance at the end that he drags wide, and I think that just summed up Rangers' night.
yeah, would agree with a lot of what you said there. I think Rangers, the first half, didn't carry much of a threat, but the second half were definitely a lot better and were in the game. Could have easily got a goal in that second half to bring it level at the time with the Raskin chance, and they had a lot of small chances. But Bilbao probably should have put the game away in the first half with the amount of chances they had. Kelly made a few good saves. There was some brilliant defensive blocks from Rangers as well, but I think the two goals Rangers conceded at that level, I think they'll see them as quite cheap goals. The first one, Suter, I know he's unlucky, maybe doesn't see the Bilbao player, but I think he's a bit clumsy to give away that penalty. And then the second goal, although it's a great ball from DeMarcos and it's a great header from Williams, I think
Yeah,
James Tavernier will probably look at himself and think that he probably should have defended it a little bit better.
he did.
Um,
He admitted in his interview that he was trying to organise the defence and he dropped his concentration.
yeah,
And the thing that came to my head that I think I've been told by coaches is worry about yourself first.
yeah,
Make sure you're doing the right thing. I'm not. I've never played at a super high. I'm Sunday league, right? But you know, you worry about what you're doing, and then you make sure you're doing the right thing. Then you can
yeah.
start organising everyone else. But
The,
I
the thing though with that is, especially when you're at the highest level though, or at any level, does James Tavernier or any other captain just feel a particular responsibility though in
I'd
those high
imagine.
pressure
I'd imagine
situations?
so. I'd imagine he does feel a responsibility to, because it was quite a at the time. You know, it's him and Suter, and then it's Enciala and Jefty. And I don't know if someone would start talking him through it, but Jefty's sort of first 60 minutes was dreadful. He was awful. And then he started, defending quite well. Um, but yeah, Enciala was really good, I thought, showing his talent again. Coming off the bench, maybe this little break he's had has benefited him slightly after his disaster at Kilmarnock. He hasn't really seen the pitch, but he came back into a high pressure game, and he showed what he can do, and hopefully we'll see more of him next season. But yeah, Laurie, to go to your original question, I'd imagine there is a feeling of a level of responsibility on James Tavernier's shoulders. But like I said, you need to worry about yourself. Make sure you know where your man is, and he drops him quite poorly. And it is a really good header. It's one of the headers that are so awkward for keepers. Uh,
just can't save it.
just right above him, really quick. Obviously, you're spreading yourself to try and save it if it goes either side, just straight over his head. And you know, Kelly was one who was all right again. I thought. The only fault in his game, I think, is his kicking is absolutely dreadful. But um, I don't imagine coming up in Scotland. Maybe now with the way football's going, but I don't imagine his football education required him to do a lot of ball playing like the way goalkeepers are going. But yeah, I thought there were some decent performances, but overall, as a side, it didn't show enough of a threat. And Bilbao, that when you're taking that much pressure, you're eventually going to break.
Yeah, I would agree. I think you've also got to say with a Bilbao second goal, there's a lot of quality involved as well because the ball is brilliant. You can see from a mile away as soon as the ball leaves the Marcos's foot that it's going to be a goal pretty much because you can see Williams is getting away. He's obviously their best player. I know he's not had quite the season that many expected after the Euros campaign, but he's still a very talented footballer. You could see that with the finish. I mean, pretty much makes it unsavable for Kelly. Bilbao deserved what they got. I think, as you said, I think there was a few positive performances from Rangers. I thought Raskin was pretty good. I thought Diamande was pretty good for the most part. Um, but I think there was a few other poor performances. I thought Connor Barron was really poor when he came on. He gave the ball away an awful lot. But yeah, it's difficult when you're going up against teams like Bilbao. I mean, they're going to be a Champions League team next season, whether that's through winning the Europa League or likely through getting top four in La Liga. So that's the kind of quality you're going up against here. So it was always going to be difficult for Rangers going there needing to win. They didn't get embarrassed. They were just beaten by the better team on the day.
Yeah.
And that's how it is.
You mentioned some of those players there that where had positive performances. I think those ones in particular, like Diamande and Raskin, are the ones that if they don't go, we need to look to build the team around them because after a period of uncertainty, I'd say for both of them, I think they're emerging and sort of solidifying themselves as really good players consistently. They've like even if Rangers are poor, they're pretty good. Diamande, he's so he's I think he's starting to get a bit of that sort of gritty side of the game. Getting stuck in a bit more. He was perhaps a bit lightweight when he first came to Rangers, but he's really adopted that, and you can see his technical ability in tight areas. He can turn really well. He wins fouls. He did that a few times. Raskin's just he's everywhere. He's the pit bull. He's aggressive. Sticking his foot in, and he's really good as well. So I think those are the players that you look to build the side around. And although he didn't have his best night, he still showed flashes of his quality. I'd say Vaslav Cherny, if Rangers can get the money to bring him in, it's a must for the following season. Anyone got anything more to say on the game?
No, I think I've summed it up pretty well there, to be honest. I think we've kind of covered that, you know, very well. But I'm just going to say, as someone who doesn't really have much of a vested interest, of course, it's frustrating for Rangers to, drop out, but they can still be proud, of their Europa League run. And what has been a very poor season, at least there's been some sort of silver lining.
Yeah, definitely. They should be proud of it, and it's I can't remember where I read this, but it was quite telling. I think it's someone was writing and going, the fact that as a support we are disappointed that going out in a Europa League quarter final should be a credit to the way the club's gone in Europe recently and how the effort the players have put in. So yeah, definitely credit to the players and to the two managers who got us there. Obviously he's gone now, but Philippe Clement did get Rangers to that stage, getting in through in the top eight, and then Barry Ferguson took over the reins for the knockout games. So yeah, overall, a fairly positive European season, domestic aside. On to the domestic football, the Scottish Cup semi-finals taking place at the weekend. Aberdeen and Hearts facing off. Laurie, we were talking before, and I think you said you described the game as a bore fest.
Yes, indeed, I did. For two sides who you would think would maybe take the game to one another. It was one of these ones where it was just nervous, just nervous, anxious game. Not great for a TV viewer. I mean, Hearts feel aggrieved because Hearts fans think they were the better side. Of course, they were a man down towards the end of the first half, and then eventually became two men down if we go into extra time. But the thing is, like, Aberdeen weren't good at all. But the thing is, when you're in a cup semi-final or any sort of knockout football, your job is to win the game by hook or by crook. And Jimmy Tilleen's men did that.
Yeah, I think I would agree with a lot of what you said there, Laurie. I thought the game before the red card, it was a good game. I would say. It was open. It was 11v11. Both teams scored a goal. I'd say Aberdeen's goal came against the run of play because I thought Hearts were the better team. And then they get that red card, the Michael Steinwender red
Who is
card right
Michael
before
Stein?
half time. What is it?
I was just looking at it there, and I'm like, who the hell is Michael Steinwender?
January signing for
January
Hearts,
signing,
honestly.
yeah.
Aye.
I've
Centre
Midfielder.
half.
clearly not
Centre
been
half
Uh,
midfielder.
paying attention because I was like, who is this guy?
but yeah, after that, I think Parts just, I mean, it's natural with 10 men, you're going to be sort of back to the wall, but I've got a wee bit of a, I've got a wee bit of a problem with Neil Critchley's half-time substitutions. I think he made two subs at half time. He took off James Wilson and Elton Kabangu, their two strikers. I know they've got Lawrence Shankland on the pitch, but to take off your two strikers for two central defenders and Craig Halkett and Frankie Kent, I think I'd understand it if Hearts were winning the game, and you don't need to score, but you're you're betting on your team going what 75 minutes, and then hopefully winning on penalties because there's no way he made those changes hoping to win that match. I don't think.
No.
And I think whether that speaks volumes of Critchley maybe having a fear because he's not got that win in the big game, which the Hearts fans always talk about. I still think I'll say it that Neil Critchley should be given to the end of the season and given a full summer to work on that squad. But I think they subs, fair enough, one of them because you know as
Yeah.
a central defender you've got to bring another one on. But I think you're just jeopardising any sort of chance of
I'm,
an attacking output. But I think the two,
Sorry, just another change he made in the 78th minute. Stephen Kingsley coming on for Adam Forrester as well. Obviously, Kingsley back in the day was a good left back. Hit free kicks, but he's sort of regressed slightly in his older age, moving into more of a centre back role. And I think just looking at that, that's another really negative change.
yeah, and a lot of
Yeah.
oh, sorry, Laurie, I was just going to jump in there. A lot of Hearts fans, I think, have not been very happy with Adam Forrester's performances as of late, but I think he was one of the best performers on Saturday when they had to defend deep, and they didn't really have any attacking output whatsoever. It was all Aberdeen, without Aberdeen playing too great.
Yeah, I think you said it yourself there, Ethan, and Alex as well. I think Stephen Kingsley was just brought on in the hope they got a good set piece in the right area and he could hit it, but or playing for penalties really early, or a bit of both probably, but it's just negative. I mean, and as frustrated as Hearts fans have been with Forrester, Critchley clearly quite likes him, or at least the club do, because well, he's been given a new deal, so yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's refreshing from a Hearts point of view because they've obviously got Forrester and Wilson in to youth products which is a lot more than a lot of the other clubs in the league are playing with at the moment. But yeah, I've seen a lot of Hearts fans were not very happy that Critchley went with the diamond again because I don't think that's worked very well for them. He obviously stuck with it, and it probably was working to start with. I think the red card. I don't think Hearts can have any complaints about the first red card. I think if Steinwender doesn't take Keskinen down there, um, or if he misses Keskinen, I think Keskinen's running through and goal. I know it's just beyond the halfway line, so he is still quite far from goal. But I think with if he leaves it, I think Keskinen's running through and goal, and I just think it's probably a tackle he shouldn't make. We should probably just let Keskinen go, try and track back, but obviously it's easy to say. Your natural instinct kicks in, and you see the ball. but I thought it was a crazy tackle at the time. But I thought the game was in a good place before that. The two goals were, I know that the Aberdeen one was quite fortunate with Gay heading it off the crossbar and then hitting in off Gordon's backside. And then Shanklin's goal was very good as well, set up by obviously one of the players player of the season members, James Penrice, with a really good cross, and then Shanklin finishes it off, and then Aberdeen scrape through with the most scruffy goal after a pretty poor, what would that be, 75 minutes after the half time red card. But yeah, as Laurie said, it's just about Aberdeen getting through, and they done that. And I think it's a major moment of Jamie Tilleen getting off the hook because obviously he played against 10 men the week before against Rangers and obviously threw that one away. But he didn't this time. And they should have won that match and they did. It just wasn't very convincing from an Aberdeen point of view.
Yeah. And they will face Celtic in the final, who were convincing. 5-0 victory.
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna ask, what did you think about Devlin setting yellow?
I'll be
I
totally
kind of
honest, I haven't seen it.
right. I saw it and I'm like, well, he's on a yellow. You kind of, especially with the way that game's going, you just need to keep 10 men on the park in their case. I mean, Devlin can be quite a rash player, and I know it wasn't the worst challenge in the world, but you're on a yellow and you need to be a bit kind of more streetwise than that.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's quite harsh on him. I think he's going for the ball. He doesn't see the Aberdeen player there. The Aberdeen player, I can't remember who it was, beat him to the ball. I think it's a really harsh second yellow, and maybe that's the reason why Hearts lose that game in 120 minutes. But yeah, I just think Neil Critchley's substitutions weren't good enough, and obviously Ode Daba gets the winner with 2 minutes left to give Aberdeen a really nice moment, and then they'll go into the final now, and you never know what happens in a final. Yeah,
Oh, that is a bit harsh. But
It's a wee bit harsh, but it's one of those when you're on a yellow, it's one of those kind of iffy ones, but a wee bit
yeah.
harsh, yeah.
he could have
I
been
I
mean,
think
sent
just
Craig
because he
off.
doesn't,
Gordon,
He could have been sent off for his first challenge.
his first one, mind you, yeah. Craig Gordon said in the press afterwards that he and indeed his Hearts teammates were angry. Angry was the word they used. And I suppose if we're being picky, he's another Hearts youth product technically, even though he's in his 40s.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah, exactly. I never even mentioned him. Um,
yeah.
he'll still be playing when the next group of Hearts youth players emerge. Um,
How long do you think he'll go?
I, I reckon, I don't know what his contractual situation is, but I reckon, well, this season, obviously, maybe next season, but beyond that, I mean,
Do you think
yeah, I think,
he'll play into his 50s for like a Lowland League club or so? I just get that feeling that once he can't do it at the top level, he'll sign up for somebody.
yeah, or I don't know, Edinburgh City or something, even,
Yeah,
yeah, aye.
do you think teams in the Championship would take him?
no.
I think some
No,
would try for a
I
year,
don't
but
know. I'm not sure. Maybe they would. Maybe
I
lower
think,
end Championship,
no,
but
no, I'll rephrase. I think they would, but I don't think they should. I think Craig
yeah.
Gordon's been past it for a little while, and it's mad that he's still the Scotland goalie. On to Celtic. 5-0 win over St Johnstone. I can't say I wasn't expecting it. You know, they never Celtic they did lose to St Johnstone, but they never seem to make the same mistake twice. When they drop points or lose a game, they always come back with a vengeance, and they did that, dispatching the future championship side. It seems fairly easily. Ethan, was it just a standard Celtic thumping?
uh, yeah, it was a bit of a strange game, like the Kilmarnock game last week. Celtic have obviously been in a little slump domestically. Well, only domestically because obviously Celtic aren't in Europe anymore, but especially in the league, Celtic performances have left um, a little bit of disrupt between the supporters. But obviously, last week's win against Laurie's Kilmarnock kind of got everyone happy again. And
So,
Brendan Rodgers stuck with the same team, quite rightfully so. And yeah, I think I could see a result like not 5-0, but I did see Celtic winning quite comfortably because think they would carry the momentum from that game, the frustration from obviously losing at McDermott Park a fortnight before. And you've seen that same story in the League Cup semi. Aberdeen obviously got a positive result against Celtic in the league when Aberdeen was still up at the top of the table, and then going in the League Cup, everyone built up the game. Maybe not built up this game as much, but and then Celtic obviously thrashed Aberdeen in that League Cup semi. So it was kind of a similar scenario, but four of the goals came in just over 10 minutes before half time. So I mean, the first half an hour, St Johnstone were well in the game, defended well. Celtic didn't really have. They had a lot of the ball and they were moving it a lot better than they did at McDermott Park a few weeks ago, but they weren't really struggling. They weren't really making Fisher have to make a lot of saves. But then a bit of magic from Forrest and then Rio Hatate opened up the space for McGregor. And when you give him that amount of space from a 15 to 25 yard distance, he is going to be deadly. And he just passed it into the corner, and then that kind of started the onslaught. Celtic smelt blood. They got the second not long after. Carter Vickers broke the St Johnstone press, which was quite high at times. It was good hold up play from Adam Ida, who obviously had a difficult midweek. Have you seen the videos of him in taxis? If you know what I'm talking about? And then Cal McGregor slipped through Dyson Maeda. Sam Curtis nearly intercepted it, but Maeda was there to finish it for his 31st goal of the season, I think it is. And then another Celtic centre back starting attack, Liam Scales. This was a really nice ball from him. Picked out Rio Hatate and he just played it across the box, and Adam Ida got his goal and apologised to the Celtic support after he was. Well, I'll just elaborate for the viewers or yous that haven't seen it. He was videoed quite drunk the other night on his day off. And he was being sick in the back of a taxi.
I
So,
mean,
but
that normally incurs a charge. I don't know what it is these days, like at least 50, 60 quid, not that it's much to a footballer. But yeah, so we'll have to cough up for that.
yeah, I don't know if he was sick in the back of the taxi or out the back of the taxi, but I think Brendan Rodgers was questioning about it in the build up to the game, but I think he was quite dismissive of it.
I reckon he fancies a wee doner kebab after a night out as well.
Yeah, I think he probably does. He seems like that. He does seems like he'd be good on a night out. Don't know why, but he just
Bad on
does.
a football pitch.
Well, he was pretty
Not
good at the
that
weekend.
bad.
Pretty good at the weekend. Got a goal, as I said. His 15 for the season. He's not obviously pleased everyone at Celtic this season, the support, but I think it was a good performance from him, and I think
Pretty good. 9.5 million, pretty good.
he holds his place in the starting 11, I'd say at the moment, because Nicholas Kuhn and Jota have not hit the heights that they have. In previous times at Celtic. Then Celtic make
Yeah,
it 4 now.
that's something. Just before we move on, that's something that I've actually kind of been wanting to talk about. Jota specifically, and this is I'm not obviously I make jokes, but Rangers fan, blah blah blah. He's been pretty bad, hasn't he?
Don't think he's been bad. I think to say he's been bad would be unfair. I think he's not been the Jota that we know from his first sell, but I think still been decent enough. I think he's contributed enough. He's not blown anyone away, but I think it's only natural. I think we expected that he was going to take a wee bit to get up to speed. Yes, he's been here for quite a while now, but I think we'll see probably the best from him next season when he's got a full
Yeah.
pre-season under his belt. Because I
Hopefully,
think you see this. you see, you see that with January signings a lot. I mean, you even go back to Nicholas Kuhn. I know he's been pretty poor recently, and I say he has been poor based off what he was doing earlier in the season. But you seen when he joined, he obviously had the dental problems and whatever, and he took that sort of that first half of the season. He wasn't great. Then he got the pre-season, and he was electric to start this season. So I think you can maybe see that the same could happen for Jota. But
Yeah.
for the fourth goal, St Johnstone, I think they just imploded at this point. Below this, obviously scored the winner at McDermott Park against Celtic a few weeks ago. He had a terrible afternoon. He gave the ball away. And it was Rio Hatate again. It was set up Maeda. He just kind of shifted it to Maeda, and Maeda poked it through a crowd. Fisher couldn't really get to it. Maeda's 33rd for the season, so it was 32nd, his first goal. So if he scores 7 in 6 games, he'll have 40 for the season. Another start with Maeda, the most Scottish Cup goals in a season since Henrik Larsson.
I
Um,
was about to say we're getting to kind of Larson territory here, aren't we? Not to compare
yeah,
them, but
yeah. I think it is a remarkable season from Maeda, considering he played a lot of it on the wing. But Rio Hatate, I think I don't know if he's I would have him in my team of the season because I will obviously get onto that. But 10 goals and 10 assists for him this season for the role he plays is quite impressive. I know he's not always the most consistent performer, but I thought he was brilliant in the weekend. And when he's like that, he's very difficult to stop. And then the second half, much like the one against Kilmarnock last weekend, a bit of a non-event, in all honesty. Celtic did get the only goal. Alistair Johnson crossed the back post, another member of the team of the season. Jota came off the bench to finish it off. That's 10 assists for Alistair Johnson this season, so it kind of shows how I think we all know he was quite a good defender. He loves a tackle, but he's added that attacking part to his game, which is why he's got so many plaudits this season. And then probably the best goal of the game, and it wasn't a goal, Mackenzie Kirk, an absolute rocket from 20, 25 yards, right into the top corner. Sinisalo had no chance. If you had Schmeichel in the goal as well as Sinisalo, they still probably wouldn't have saved it. But it was a foul on Adam Ida in the build-up, a push by Belodis again, who almost gave away a penalty as well. So it really was a terrible afternoon for him. But yeah, a difficult day for St Johnstone because they might have had a little bit of confidence after the win over Celtic a few weeks ago. But they say, as Alex said, this usually doesn't happen twice for Celtic, and lightning usually doesn't strike twice. So yeah, it was always going to be difficult. And I think Valakari, his tactics were a wee bit sort of strange. He went man for man with Celtic, which was always going to be very risky. And a lot of the goals, it wasn't as if Celtic broke down a low block. It was sort of goals in the transition when St Johnstone couldn't get back into possession because they had lost the ball up the pitch. And even though St Johnstone tried to play man for man, they never really won the ball back off Celtic at all, and they never really threatened at all.
Oh,
It
sorry,
just
just to cut in. I'm gonna shoot for a couple of minutes. I've just seen a delivery driver just dump a parcel at my front door. So
That's fine.
that's
Um,
absolutely fine. I mean, we
um,
can certainly talk about this. I mean, Celtic do just dominate sometimes, and I think for St Johnstone, that semi final felt a wee bit free hit ish almost, and like you kind of call a semi final a free hit. I mean, maybe some Johnson fans like Danny Williams might be coming after me now, but like it's one of these ones where chances are Celtic are going to come out all guns blazing, especially after what happened at McDermott Park the other week there. I mean, St Johnstone are a poor side. I mean, they're a team of style and very little substance a lot of the time. And I mean, obviously, well, my side, Kilmarnock, will play them in a few weeks in the post-split fixtures at McDermott Park, where obviously Kelly's away record is shocking. But, like, the thing is, Celtic were always going to win that. Of course, St John's aim there was to keep it respectable, which they couldn't do from what you can see from the scoreline. I mean, the only minor positive for St John's, or all they thought was going to be a minor positive, was Mackenzie Kirk scored, or so he thought. For what Ethan you described to me as a cracker, I didn't see it because I was live on the radio, but it wasn't to be, was it?
No, and that just summed up their day really, because even when they got their moment, their little goal, it just was taken away from them. And yeah, you can say, yeah, free hit almost because against Celtic, it's always going to be difficult in a semi-final, and it was how it should play out when bottom of the table plays top of the table. Um, but obviously that's why we watch football because it doesn't always go that way as it did a few weeks ago. But yeah, Celtic, yeah, they were looking for vengeance. Against St Johnstone and Vallecari. I think that would have been the message from Brendan Rodgers. And he keeps up his remarkable 100% record in this competition. But yeah, Vallecari, I think he'll learn that you can't go man for man with Celtic and expect that maybe that doesn't happen. I mean, you look at what Celtic done earlier in the season. They obviously off the back of winning at McDermott Park and the other fixture where I think it was 6-0. They obviously went to Dortmund, tried to go man for man, were absolutely decimated, and
Yeah,
it just shows the
it
sort of
doesn't work.
levels.
No.
So it's
And
the levels that they'll work maybe one time out of 20, but a lot of the time it doesn't. And it can go very sour. And it did for the St Johnstone fans in the stadium. And credit to them for making the journey because it was obviously a dominated Celtic crowd, but it almost felt like a Celtic home game. Um, but yeah, difficult for St Johnstone. You've got to worry about what the sort of mental implications that'll have on them for the rest of the season because you've seen what happened to Aberdeen after they lost heavily in the League Cup semi to Celtic. They obviously had that really, really difficult spell, whereas St Johnstone have already starting behind everyone and need to claw back points. It's going to be difficult for them, but for Celtic, another final, and they're well on the way to another treble. They will obviously have Aberdeen in their way. We'll see if Aberdeen have they can fill their full allocation because I know there was quite a lot of stick being thrown their way for not doing that against
yeah,
Hearts in the semi. But I really just hope for a sort of similar scenario to the 2017 final between Aberdeen and Celtic because I think that's one of the. I know it had a great moment at the end with Tom Rogic winning it, but I thought that was a great final. One that I remember in recent years as being a really good Scottish Cup final.
of course, that would be great if we can get a game kind of like that. And just quickly on the whole allocation thing, I think Dave Cormack, Aberdeen's chairman, majority shareholder, don't know which title he prefers. He kind of dug a hole for himself because he said something in the media afterwards. He's one of the only owners that likes speaking to the media, right? And he said something like, "If the game was played in Peterhead, Aberdeen would have 25,000 there. Trying to fit 25,000 people into Balmoor at Peterhead? I don't think so." Anyway, that's just really he's one of his eccentric owners, isn't he, Dave Cormack?
Yeah, it seems that way. Do you want to move on to the uh, team of the season?
Right,
As
go for it.
for by the players, I believe the PFA team of the season. So in goals we have Casper Schmeichel. Um, I don't think he's been incredible, but I don't think anyone's been better than him. So I
Yeah,
can't really argue
Yeah.
with
yeah. I would love to make a case for another goalkeeper because obviously Kasper Schmeichel's the least busy goalkeeper in the league, but yeah, that's not his fault. And if no other goalkeeper's sort of up to the bill, then he deserves to reap the rewards.
that. Yep. Right back we have Alistair Johnson. Fair enough. Cameron Carter Vickers, centre back, paired with John Suter. And I don't really have any other complaints about those
No,
choices.
I agree with them.
No, not
Uh,
really, no.
left back, James Penrice. Now, James Penrice has been very good, but I think Laurie mentioned it off air. It has been talked up quite a lot. I feel like a lot of it might be obviously the players voted for it, but you don't know how the players are influenced by the media. Um, I think Nicky Cadden deserves that slot. I just think he's been excellent this season all the way through.
Yeah,
Even when Hibs were rubbish, he was he was one of the shining lights. So I would give it to him.
Yeah, I think the
absolutely.
only thing. Sorry, on you go, Laurie.
Right. I'm just saying, as you kind of said about Nicky Cadden, Alex, it's a case of he's been he's been, better player and a better team and contributing to a massive turnaround, which of course Hearts were hoping to achieve themselves, but they haven't really.
Hmm.
Hearts will be rather envious of their city rivals, I'm sure. And of course, Hearts made what looks like some very shrewd recruitment in the summer. And obviously James Penrice was part of that, kind of plucking him out of relegated Livingston. We'll go into Livy in a wee second. But the thing is, like, he has probably been Hearts' best player. There's not too many can dispute that. Well, there's a couple of people, but not really, right? But was it good enough for team of the season? No. You could probably make a case, as you say, for Nicky Cadden of Hibs, or if you really want to keep the old firm team going, you could probably have made more of a case for Greg Taylor, truthfully, and that's someone who's
Yeah.
some Celtic fans want out the door.
Yeah, although I was just going to mention in a sort of U-turn, Celtic it seemed to have offered him another contract, and Brendan Rodgers says, or seems like he wants Greg Taylor and Kieran Tierney as his left back options next season, which I think would be two strong choices. It's whether Greg
Yeah.
Taylor feels probably respected enough by the fans, because some of the
Yeah.
criticism he's got, you would imagine he wouldn't even want to play for Celtic anymore.
He's
I
become a
think part of
scapegoat.
the thing with Greg Taylor, though, just quickly, Alex, just jumping in, I think part of it is Greg might want a bit of stability. Obviously, his partner has just given birth. You probably saw his wee one being
He's got a
affected. A
partner,
man's got there a week there. So yeah,
like a wife or a girlfriend.
I'm I'm not sure if he's married or not.
I don't know
I
that.
think he
Well,
might be. I'm not too sure, but
congratulations to Greg Taylor. But yeah, I was just gonna say he's become a scapegoat. Anytime anything goes wrong for Celtic, especially in the old firm games, Taylor's the first one that gets the brunt of it, and I don't think like I I don't really like saying this because I don't really like him as a player, but see the years uh, the past couple of years, I think, and especially in the old firm games, he's been one of the best players. He doesn't get the headlines, but see just his inverted movement and he was great at the wind up as well. He would get in the heads, and I think that's a testament to him of why I don't really like him. And a lot of Rangers fans don't really like him. As a player, I have nothing against him personally, obviously.
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, to be fair, he's always known for that point when he was the wee kind of 18-year-old. He was always known for that moment against Rangers, though, isn't he? The kind of Joey Barton up in the air kind of moment.
yes, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, I think we all do.
But
I
yeah, I think there's a reason why he's been trusted by Brendan Rodgers to play a lot of games and Ange Postecoglou to play a lot of games. He's obviously a good footballer, that's the reason why he plays a lot of games. I know Jeffrey Schlupp's come in and took a bit of minutes off him this season. But just back to the debate between the two
Sorry,
Edinburgh clubs. Or were
I've
you just going to say something?
I've got another wee thing on Greg Taylor. It's interesting because do you think, as I understood it, he wanted out the door. Rogers was happy for him to go out the door. So this U-turn is kind of been interesting. So do you think Rogers had a plan in place where obviously Schlupp's contract's expiring at Palace? Do you think he was thinking, okay, we'll get Jeffrey in the door and we'll start Kieran, and if Kieran's no fit, Schlupp's a good replacement, and we've got two good players there, and we don't need Greg Taylor anymore. Um, and maybe something's happened, where Schlupp doesn't want to come
That kind of,
or something like that. Obviously, this is complete
yeah,
speculation, but as I understood it, he was willing to let Taylor go because he had Tierney coming in
yeah,
and
yeah.
that Schlupp
That,
was a possibility.
aye, that was very much my answer. And Alex will let you come in even a bit more next bit of voice, but that was mine. But then when you think about it this way, right? Jeffrey Slope, I think I'm like 90% sure is a fair bit older than Greg Taylor, right? For a
32.
start, so he's older, so 32 compared to what Greg's not even out of his 20s. You've got Jeffrey Sloop, I think, will want a bigger wage for less of a contribution than what Greg Taylor will make over the course of a season. The one thing that goes in Jeffrey Sloop's favour is versatility. He's not just a left back, but I
Yeah,
think Greg Taylor's probably a better deal.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, I'd agree, but I don't think it's down to that. I think it's down to Taylor wanting minutes.
Hmm.
yeah.
I
I
think
think
Jeffrey
another
Klopp
thing.
at 32
Um,
would be happy to take a back seat to a better player than him. So personally, I'd agree with that, but I don't think it's purely down who's better business. It's about personal things for Greg Taylor. I think
Uh-huh. Yeah.
unless Rodgers has given him some sort of guarantee, then I don't see why he would sign if he wanted to go and start because all the fanfare around Kieran Tierney. It can't have been easy for Greg Taylor, a guy who um, he's not a better player, but I would wager that he's had a more successful Celtic career and done a lot more for the club than Kieran Tierney did. Obviously, Tierney left quite young, big move. He was a great player, but Taylor's done more. And obviously the fans love Tierney, but I think the treatment's been totally unfair. I think Greg Taylor, right now, I'd say is higher up on the all time list.
I would disagree with that. I get what you're saying. I think Craig Taylor's probably had more title success at Celtic. He's probably got more trophies. He's contributed a lot to those trophies. I'd still say Kieran Tierney's higher in um, the sort of pecking order. But I get what you're saying. Greg Taylor, he's been, I think he's been terribly disrespected at Celtic. He's been a really consistent performer, and I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, but I think um, the sort of wage demands that Greg Taylor set, which weren't met by Celtic, were sort of leaked into the press, which I don't think's very good. I think I might have
Yeah.
mentioned it before, but from what I've seen, I don't think the demands are ridiculous for a player of his quality and his contribution. So I don't know why there's a sort of stumbling block there. But I think if Celtic are wanting to have him there and he's wanting to still compete for his place, although, yes, we know he's going to be probably the second option, then I think he will be a Celtic player next season. If Celtic can't meet his demands and pair that with the fact that he's not getting the respect he deserves. I think everyone can see that from the support. Then you can't blame him for leaving. But Celtic are in a good position now because they've obviously got Tierney in the door, and then they've got Taylor and Schlupp who they can both, if they want, throw money at either of them and get them in as a really solid second option.
Yeah, it's a good predicament to have when you're discussing between these three players. They're really three top players. So two of them with years of Premier League experience. Although Tierney did spend a lot of time on the treatment table, through no fault of his own. He's just been cursed with injuries throughout his career. But yeah, it's a great headache to have as a manager when you're having to, I've got three top left backs to pick from. But yeah,
I was just going to say, sorry, on this point, in case you moved on to the next position, I think I definitely agree with yous. I think Nicky Cadden definitely can feel hard done by. His contributions to Hibs have been immense this season. The only thing that maybe goes against him is that I'm looking at the stats here. He's played 1,538 minutes. Penrice has played 2,637, so he's played almost 1,000 more minutes, although Cadden's still got more goals and more assists. But another thing which maybe goes against Nicky Cadden is that he's a sort of wing back, and
yeah,
whether they're bringing that into a left back sort of role then is debatable. But I think they'd definitely be your standout candidates. I know Laurie mentioned Greg Taylor. But I think Greg Taylor's sort of starting birth being disrupted by Jeffrey Schlupp would put him out of contention. I'd say they two are the clear candidates.
hmm Right, onto the midfield, we've got Nico Raskin, Callum McGregor, and Rail Hitati. Um, I don't have any complaints about that. I don't know about you
No.
guys.
Not really. But Ethan, did you not say you had something to say about Rio Hatate?
Yeah, I think the other two, McGregor, I mean, speaks for itself. Raskin, I think you said very early in the season, Alex, that although Connor Barron started the season getting all the sort of plaudits while Raskin was out with that injury, he obviously sustained in the summer, that when Raskin came back and started playing, that he would be in the sort of he would be getting the plaudits, and even more so than what Barron got. And you were completely right because. I think he's probably been one of Rangers' best players this season, definitely top three. And in that position, he's been a necessity. Rangers winning the big games in Europe, the big derbies. So I think his inclusion is definitely fair enough. I'm looking across the league for a third option, and no one's really jumping out at me. Triantis has been very good at Hibs. Who else can I think of? Apart from that, though, Lennon Miller's injury, maybe that he had in the middle of the season, maybe derailed him a bit. He could have been in with contention, but I think Rio Hatate, I know he gets on my nerves sometimes because I think with his quality, he can be one of the best players on his day in the country. But he's just very inconsistent. But as I said, 10 goals, 10 assists for a central midfielder, a number eight is a pretty good return. So fair enough, his inclusion. Yeah, that's a strong midfield anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then the front three is Nicholas Kuhn. We've discussed his poor form, but I think his form in the first half of the season justifies it.
yeah.
Sam Dolby and Daisen Maeda. Now, so on this, I'd say there's one guy you could perhaps debate. There's a few attacking options that you could have in place of him. So we'll take out Maeda for no, I'm joking. No, yeah, take out the player of the season. No, Sam Dolby. I think it's debatable. You could have Simon Murray and there instead. You maybe this is a bit of bias poking through, but you could move Maeda into the middle and put Cherny on one of the wings. You know,
There's certainly an argument there, Alex, isn't it? Rangers bias or not. Like, I mean, as we say about Sam Dalby, I mean, he's a guy on loan from Wrexham in English League One. I mean, he struggled. He struggled everyone else apart from Dundee United. Could this be a one-season wonder? And when it comes to an our striker option, you don't need to look too far beyond Sam Dalby in terms of geography. You just need to go across the street and you can find a better option.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think, yeah, I'd agree. I think Cherny would definitely have. It was Cherny you said, wasn't it?
yeah. Cherny and Simon Murray are sort of
Yeah. Yeah. I think if Igaman was a little more consistent and maybe got more starts and more goals, then maybe he could be in with a shout. But
I think
I
he'll
think
be
Cherny,
up there next season.
yeah, I think Cherny and Murray are definitely the ones that you could definitely make a strong case for. I just give it to Murray, just because of what he's done and with what club he's done. I mean, with what club he's at. Sorry, I mean Dundee. The goal without his goals, where would Dundee be? Um, Especially since the turn of the year, I feel like Simon Murray's almost scored every week. It seems like we're talking about Simon Murray scoring. So I'd just throw him in ahead of Sam Dalby, but Vatra Cerny's definitely got a case as well. I think Nicholas Kuhn's early season form just carries him in ahead, and Dyson Maeda. I mean, it's probably everyone voted for Dyson Maeda in their team, so
Could
there's
you
no debate there.
could you give an outside shout to Martin Boyle, his best goal scoring season? And
Yeah, possibly.
That's a good outsider shout. Yeah, not someone I thought of because everyone thinks or everyone kind of convinces themselves that he's past it because obviously age, catching up, whatever. But you know what? Fair play to him.
yeah, obviously, I think his best season perhaps came when I think Laurie you mentioned it, Montrose when he was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
got
22 goals.
22 goals. But this season is his best season since that 16 goals and 10 assists in all competitions for Martin Boyle this season. So
Yeah,
That's brilliant actually.
that's not a bad return at all. But yeah, I'd say that spot with Dalby is certainly debatable with the likes of Murray, Cherny, Martin Boyle. but I think the other two, Maeda and Nicholas Kuhn, are locks.
I was going to sort of pose an interesting question, but this is one we probably need to go back and we need to go and do a little bit of work before maybe a sort of end of season episode where we do a team of the season with from one player from each club and the manager from the other club. So all 12 clubs are represented in this team of the season. Don't know how long
Oh,
will
that,
fall on that.
that sounds difficult.
Should we just
Yeah,
Sounds
throw,
like a bit,
should we just throw
we'd have to go and
Valkyrie
think
in the
about that.
manager slot just to fill us at job?
Probably, probably.
yeah.
Um, that's maybe one for a later episode, but I just thought it was an interesting point because we know these teams of the season are usually dominant, heavy Celtic and Rangers dominated, but they are the two best teams in the league, I suppose. So and it's
Val-
players that are voting.
Valkyrie manager, Murray at striker.
Yeah. To be fair, Valkyrie wouldn't be a bad manager for something like this. He tried to play quite pretty football, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then Kilmarnock. No, we can't do. There's no one you can put in from Kilmarnock.
You'd have to put in someone.
Joe
Right.
Joe
Wright.
Wright,
Yeah,
Aye, but Joe Wright possibly, actually. Aye.
Joe Wright, and then Motherwell, Miller.
Miller.
Miller, take it.
Um, Motherwell, Miller, and then who's next? Who's next? Hearts.
We'll just leave it. We'll come back on it. I think
It's a good one to ponder, isn't it?
we'll bring our full 11s and we'll face them off against each other.
Yeah,
See who
that's a good
wins.
idea for an episode. Moving on to this week's championship segment. A lot of championship action. It's really getting close down to the wire. We'll start off at the bottom. Hamilton Accies have officially been relegated, pending the result of an appeal. It will actually be released today. So by the time you see this, you may know the result of it. The points deduction may have been lessened, yeah, or it may have been totally taken off. However, I've got a mate who's a big Hamilton fan, and I think the club have actually done some not great stuff. So I don't know. Hopefully, they win the appeal because the players over the past couple of weeks have really pulled the finger out to try and survive. But anyway, Hamilton currently bottom. 7 points behind Airdrie. So yeah, they're down with 2 games left. Airdrie 6 points behind Queen's Park. So it looks like Airdrie will be in the playoff. Because the goal difference doesn't look like you can turn around. So Queen's Park and Dunfermline have been saved by the points deduction as well. They're both sitting in 8th and 7th. And then Greenock Morton sort of in their own realm in 6th. And then Wraith Rovers and Partick Thistle battling it out for the final playoff spot, both on 49 points. Ayr United in 3rd. They're in their own realm as well. And if we get to the top, Livingston have closed the gap to Falkirk to 3 points. And there are 2 games left in the season. The others fixtures this Friday. Livingston play Falkirk. Partick Thistle play Falkirk, and then Livingston go to Hamilton to play Accies, and then the final day of the season, Livingston play Partick Thistle, and Falkirk play Hamilton. So some reverse fixtures in there. Excuse me, but. Yeah, it's getting quite tight. We thought the championship title race was done and dusted. However, Falkirk have stumbled. Livingston have been on a decent run, and they could nick it at the very end. You never know.
Yeah.
You know.
I was just going to say, I've said, I think months ago that I thought the league was wrapped up for Falkirk. I said it a few weeks ago, and they keep just, I don't know, they keep just going ahead, and then either Ayr or Livingston this occasion can't have caught up. With 2 games to go, Partick Thistle are going to have a sort of major saying where the league goes this season because they obviously play both teams in the last two games, which is not good for them because despite leading Raith Rovers for quite a while for that last playoff spot, they're now obviously level on points, and Partick Thistle have got to play the top two teams, whereas Raith Rovers have got to play Greenock Morton at home and Queen's Park away, which you would say are two pretty favourable fixtures for Raith. So worrying times for Partick Thistle, worrying times for the Falkirk fans because they're probably biting their nails because they're no longer secure. I know it's still very much in their hands. Pretty much, if they win one of the last two games, they're going to be um, champions. You'd imagine with that goal difference. I don't think there is going to be a goal difference swing unless we're done with. I don't know if any of you have seen what the Serie A are doing. The rule that they implemented apparently a few years ago, where if the two clubs joint top or the two clubs joint bottom of relegation, they instead of going to goal difference, they just have a playoff match. So it's a very realistic scenario this season that Napoli, with obviously Billy Gilmore and Scott McTominay in their ranks, will face Inter Milan because they've got the same points at the end of the season. They'll play a playoff match at whoever team's got a better goal difference to decide who wins the league, which would be an absolutely ridiculous game. And that's going to happen as it stands because the two teams are level in points.
Do they not do playoff? No, sorry, did they not do goal difference in the Serie A? No.
No, not for the if it's concerning relegation spots or um, the
Momentum.
championship. Apparently, it was brought back in 2022. Football Meets Data on Twitter was the one I seen it off, and apparently it's a thing if the two teams are level on points at the end of the season, they're going to play a playoff match at a one-off game to decide who wins the title, which is absolutely crazy. I think because I don't think we've ever seen anything like that, or certainly I can't remember it seeing anything like that.
No, it sounds very, I don't mean it in a critical way, I actually mean this positively. It sounds quite American, that sort of thing, doesn't it? Maybe that's
Yeah,
what I'm trying to appeal to, I don't know. Um, because I know Italian football is kind of going the same way down south, and a lot of it is owned by like American asset management type firms, but I know Inter Milan definitely are. But it's one of these ones where it is really interesting that that's the way they kind of go, the kind of route they go down with it. I could see Scotland going down that route, or fans wanting to go down that route. But whether the SPFL
yeah.
wants it is
I don't think they would ever let
another
that
matter.
happen. The policing for one of those games, say Celtic and Rangers had the same amount of points at the end of the season. I mean, that would be crazy. It would be ridiculous.
Carnage.
But now getting back to the championship, I think the major. I mean, it's been a terrible situation for Hamilton, and it looks, as Alex said, like they have been up to no good. The punishment's the same that Inverness and Dumbarton got, 15 points. It's difficult to take, and I mean, for a club like Hamilton, when you get that points deduction, it's usually detrimental. I know Inverness are doing pretty well, and I think they're going to possibly escape um, the relegation playoff. Um, but I think the major beneficiary party is Queen's Park because they would be in that relegation playoff right now if Hamilton hadn't had the points deduction. And yeah, as Alex said, I think Airdrie are going to have to suffer that now because I think it is um, too much of a struggle. So Neil Lennon's um, saved Dunfermline very fortunately.
Saved them. He's done nothing. He's won it for like one game or something.
Let's see. Yeah, he's won. No, he's won two games. He's won two games. Um, but yeah, um, really interesting last few weeks in the championship, and it should be a really interesting finish. I'm looking across the other leagues to see if there's any other stories brewing. Um, let me see.
I don't know if anything would top the championship though as such when it comes to a
No,
story because like I mean, as we said, Falkirk had a good go at screwing it up at the weekend, of course. They go 1-0 up against Rafe and I mean it looks all but sealed and then just they seem to totally implode.
Yeah, after the red card.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, in League One, Arbroath have wrapped that up. They'll be back in the Championship. And then what, Cove Rangers, Queen of the South, and Steny sit in the playoff spots now, with Alloa having a chance to enter that. Inverness currently sitting 1 point outside the relegation playoff despite being deducted 15 points. And obviously my local team, Dumbarton, down and out, well down and out already. Um, but yeah, it's a real problem across the Scottish football pyramid with clubs breaking the financial fair play rules, because we've seen three clubs this season go into go into well, not all of them go into administration, but yes, tough times.
come close to hitting the wall basically,
Yeah, yeah.
which is
And then
not great.
yeah, in League Two, there's still a title race between Peterhead and East Fife. And at the bottom, Bonnie Rig looking a really tough spot. And I think from the Lowland League and the Highland League, I think it's East Kilbride and Brora Rangers, I'm pretty sure,
One of
have
you
won those two leagues. So they'll be going head to head
do
to have the chance to.
it.
Oh, there he is. That's very timely. Um,
Yep.
I think they'll be going head to head to see who faces Bonnie Rig Rose to see if a Lowland or Highland League team will progress into the football leagues.
Yeah, hopefully it is East Kilbride. Just not because I'm from here, so. But yeah, they've struggled for years, so hopefully they can get over the line. Just before we finish up, I think we'll go through the championship team of the season. In goals, Jerome Pryor of Livingston. Um, you know, I saw him in the Challenge Cup final. He was quite good. I've seen a couple of Livy games this season. We're not claiming to be championship experts here. You know, we don't watch it week in,
No,
week.
we're not, and I'm very much hoping not to be watching it next season. So yeah,
Laurie soon to be championship expert. But yeah, and the back line we've got Keelan Adams of Falkirk, Ryan McGowan of Livingston, Liam Henderson of Falkirk, Scott McMahon of Ayr United, who are going to come up and put Kilmarnock down. And then in the
sorry.
midfield, you've got Jamie Brandon, the Livy skipper, top player, Brad Spencer of Falkirk, Ben
Former Kilmarnock player made a grand total of I think zero appearances, but he was on our books.
You've got Ben Dempsey of Ayr United, and in the front three, you've got Robbie Muirhead of Livingston, George Oakley of Ayr United, and Calvin Miller of Falkirk.
Yeah, I'm looking at the team, and I know we speak about the Scottish Premiership not having much variation. I mean, we've got four Falkirk players, four Livingston players, three Ayr United players, so there's not
Aye,
much.
pretty much what you would expect.
Yeah, it's what you'd expect. The two clubs obviously still going for the title. We've got four players. The team who have been in the race for most of the season. We've got three.
You
But
could
yeah,
you
no
could
real
take
arguments. Yeah,
Brian Graham. I think he's joint top scorer in the division. So
yeah, and
Joint
and
top scorer in
and
the division and busiest man in Scottish football. So I think he
yeah,
deserves a wee honourable
busiest man
mention.
in world football possibly.
Aye, quite easily. I mean, what is he? Wait a minute. So he's player manager and interim manager for obviously Partick men's team. He manages the women's side. Um, he probably does other stuff that we don't know. I don't know, is he the kit man as well? Um,
I know he's the
you know,
captain and top goal scorer as well, but yeah, he does a lot.
captain, top goal scorer, whatever else. Anyone else doesn't want to do it, Partick Thistle. Oh, Brian will do it.
he's
Yeah,
outright top scorer in the championship. So I feel like
no,
he's maybe been hard done by there. Um,
definitely.
you've got George
But
Oakley,
obviously it's
a goal behind him on 13. Robbie Muirhead is on 11. He's got two penalty goals. Also on 11 is Hamilton Accies striker Ollie Shaw, who's only got one penalty. So could maybe shove him in there over Robbie Muirhead as well.
Yeah, I think there's certainly an argument with Shaw because yeah, I've flagged him before, and I mean And Muirhead I would actually stick up for as well as a former Kelly Academy product, who some Kelly fans would want back. Now, hindsight and all that. But I mean, Ollie Shaw and a Hamilton team that's struggling, and obviously with point deduction and whatever as well, he does deserve credit for, getting such a good goal return. And he always does seem to do
His
quite well
best
in the
return.
second tier.
It's his best return since 21-22 when he was with Kelly. He's
In the
actually
championship, funnily enough.
he's got identical stats.
Wow.
16 goals, 3 assists in all competitions.
So
We're going to finish up there. This episode of the Dugout podcast, we've had a little bit of technical difficulties, so the end might seem a bit disjointed, but that was episode 45. Go check out the Twitter at the Dugout 2024, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you and goodbye.